Hello, I'm Casey Aiken, and this is 21 This Week. Coming up next, will there ever be justice in the Damascus High rape case as the fourth perpetrator to be tried as a juvenile? Should the county council and the community be more involved in the hiring of the next chief of police? Prince George's County teen murdered by MS-13 gang members, all dreamers. Stay tuned. Our panel of insiders will give you the story behind the story. We're joined by the Dean of Democratic Punditry, Sam Statland. Maryland Young Republican National Committeeman Evan Young, Maryland political consultant Dwight Patel, and education activist Cynthia Rubenstein. Stay tuned for these stories and more on the next 21 This Week. Unlike other surrounding jurisdictions, the Montgomery County Police Force has been viewed as a model law enforcement department. During his 15 years in office, Police Chief Tom Manger was considered a first-class executive, and his department was held in high regard. Traditionally, the hiring of the chief of police is conducted by the county executive, who presents his candidate to the council for approval. But this week, first-term Councilman Will Jawando sent a letter to the county executive requesting greater involvement by the county council and the community into the selection process. Sam, is Jawando just a first-term councilman trying to make a name for himself by injecting national politics into an area where there hasn't been any concern?
Well, first of all, Mark Elrich, our executive, went out to everyone asking for comments just like the ones he got, and he also sent out a survey to an awful lot of people throughout the county. He wants to have an inclusive police chief that will make everyone feel welcome here in the county, where they can do a better job of doing things like getting rid of MS-13, a lot more community policing, just a whole bunch of ideas, and he wants suggestions from those people living here in the county of ways to improve the police force.
So are you saying Manger was a failure? Is that what you're saying? That Tom Manger was a failure as the police chief for the last 15 years?
No, but I'm saying times changed, and there's always fresh ways of looking at things. And Mark wants to get as many fresh ways to serve the people of this county, and it may be something better, as much as he can.
Cynthia, Jawando does not cite any facts other than generalizations that there is a distrust between the communities of color and the police force. Should he be taken seriously?
Of course he should be taken seriously, and there are facts. Some striking facts include that a 2018 report issued by Montgomery County shows that 55% of police force-involved incidents involve African Americans, even though African Americans are barely 20% of Montgomery County's population. That is a fact, and that helps give reason for putting community into
transparency
involving them and providing more transparency
that fact
for the new police chief.
That fact is meaningless. How much crime is being commuted by different communities is the issue, not whether or not the police are involved in arresting people.
Yeah,
Evan.
That's not evidence of some police wrongdoing. Of that 55% that you cited, do we know how many of those were then found to be misuse of force? No, we don't.
But
so that's not evidence that anything was done wrong.
What it
The point is that you want to improve life and make people feel safer in their communities. And how do you do that? You ask those people that live there, what would you like to see in a police force, which is exactly the questionnaires that were sent out. And then you go to the police chief, the new chief, and say, what are your ideas?
Sam,
this goes both ways. This goes both ways. This provides a platform for the police to be better understood by the community, rather than keeping the process being non-transparent and not involving community members.
That there is a problem between the community and the police force all it does is exacerbate people's feelings.
So when you have a child and you have to teach a child how to behave in mannerisms.
Are you saying that because
and
of a
talking to
national
people.
incident?
No,
or
no,
you
I'm
saying,
talking about
Sam,
local incidents as well as
Sam,
national.
What's happened in
incidents.
Montgomery County that lead anyone
You
to
got
believe
kids
the
that are,
police
you
are
got
racist
people
in
that
Montgomery
cross
County?
the street. You got people that are afraid to talk to the police.
Who?
but why is
Within
that?
your minority community.
Why is that? It's because the community is being
Because
told
for
they
years
can't trust
and
the
years
police.
and years they've been beaten up.
No,
and
it's
beaten up
because
By Montgomery
activists,
County Police?
It takes
because
a long,
activists,
long time to
activists
overcome
say
stuff like
you can't
this.
trust the police. That's why it's happening.
No, it's not the advocate, it's the people in the street. That's
There
why the
is a
surveys
recent
go out.
incident that has caused concern in my own community by an individual who left his home and was confronted by a police officer and then died as a result of the confrontation. And the process for the investigation, which is what we have now, is that the police department did its own internal investigation, handed it off to Howard County. They came back with their conclusion, but there was very little transparency and people did not trust the examination and results.
Why do you have to go
Cynthia,
out of the
you have
county?
Cynthia, you have the last word on this. We're going on to our next topic. Last fall, Montgomery County was shocked to learn of the brutal sexual assault on 3 teenage boys by 5 other members of the Damascus High School junior varsity football team. At that time, Deputy State's Attorney Peter Feeney called the defendants' conduct astonishingly cruel and said that they intended to inflict pain, degrade, and humiliate the weaker members of the football team. This week, Circuit Court Judge Steve Statland agreed to move the prosecution of the 4th assailant who had been charged as an adult to juvenile court. Dwight, now all 5 assailants in this case will be prosecuted as juveniles, but given their young ages, was this the right thing to do?
No, it was not the right thing to do. You need to basically punish crimes that would be, just because they're 14 to 16, should not exempt them. I think they should be tried as adults. I think it's a travesty. It's an outrage. If I were a parent who had children going to that school, I would wonder, what would it take? Like, if a kid's been beaten up, if the kid was 14 and bludgeoningly beaten up a child in schools, I'm sure people would be crying murder about them being tried as juveniles when they should be tried as an adult. You do an adult crime, you should pay the adult time, do the adult time.
Evan, you've been on the panel when we've talked about this previously. Is there any reason why the superintendent of schools, Jack Smith, has taken virtually no action in this matter other than issuing a statement at the time of the crime that he was disgusted by the activity?
In another scenario, he might be able to say he doesn't want to put anything out there during an ongoing trial and an ongoing investigation, except he's done that in the past with other incidents that happened in school. Still going through the court system, he's spoken out more often about that. So it leads me to believe, and I'm not saying it's right, I'm just saying I played football for years, I got treated differently as well. You're dealing with a very high-profile football program. Until they lost in the playoffs last year, they had the longest winning streak in the nation. Dealing with a high-profile program, you're dealing with a legendary coaching staff. I think if this was happening to football players and they had attacked a cheerleader, or if this was happening at a school that goes 1-9 every year instead of a team that's bringing attention to the county and the state every year, I think it might be handled differently.
Sam, here's the problem with these individuals being charged as juveniles. The juvenile court process can be sealed, and there was no public information to be being released. Are we ever going to know what actually happened here, and will we ever see satisfaction in this case?
If we want to see satisfaction, we need leadership. We need leadership from the superintendent of schools and the school board to say we want a thorough investigation. Maybe we should bring in the Howard County School Board to take a look at it, because obviously our people aren't. And as I've said before, what I think they're worried about is lawsuits. I think this is absolutely just terrible, terrible. And I can't understand how the superintendent of schools and the school board doesn't want to get to the bottom of this. For all we know, right now, at that high school or others throughout the county, we're having people being abused. Same thing.
Look, this
no
isn't just the first item that's happened at schools. A year ago, we were talking about a rape case in Rockville High School.
Alleged.
alleged rape case.
But before
the
Jack
fact
Smith
is,
knew
the
what
fact
happened,
is,
he
whether
spoke
it was
out.
alleged or not, you had students going into the bathrooms having sex, Cynthia. That's
Correct.
You can't have that
I just
behavior
don't-
in your
I
schools.
just disagree with the mischaracterization and the, playing judge and jury over something that turned out to be
The victim.
there was a fabrication.
The victim claimed it was forced sexual contact.
And then it was.
She was supposed to be believed, Cynthia.
And then after questioning and the process went through, the evidence was very, very thin.
All right. Well, I want to go to. I want to go to.
But I want to say
Evan.
something
Yes.
about juveniles, about the students being charged as juveniles and going through the juvenile system. They are children, and they have children's brains, and if you want to send
This
them
crime
into
was a
the adult,
child's
if you want to
crime?
send them through the adult,
Taking a broomstick
let me finish.
and
If you wanna-
sodomizing
you
somebody
want to
is a
send them through
children's
an
crime?
adult system, then they will become hardened. That behavior will
What is the
become
message?
hardened.
What is the message
Put them
that gets
through the
sent
juvenile
to?
system
What is the message
where
sent to the
they
community
can possibly
when you don't
rehabilitated
prosecute them as
so that
adults?
when they are adults, they are not hardened criminals when they come out
I
of the
was
criminal
16
justice
when
system.
I knew this
This
was
is
wrong.
tradition in this school. It happened to those students
Oh, it's a
the year
tradition.
before.
And all-
and that makes
all
it
of them
okay.
knew
That
what
was
they
in
were
the
doing
press
was wrong.
that
All right, we got to go.
It's not
We're going to
because
go
they
on to
were
our.
told. In that
we're going
school,
to
nothing
go on to
was
our
done.
next topic, but I will say one thing. Circuit Court Judge Steve Statland can be voted out of office. His term isn't for life. It'll be up in 2025, and people can make up their own minds whether these guys should have been charged as adults and whether the judge made the right decision. I would say vote him out of the judiciary.
But the one thing
a total of 6 MS-13 gang members are being charged in connection with the stabbing death of a 16-year-old in Prince George's County. According to WSA, the largest concentration of MS-13 gangs locally are in Montgomery Village, Gaithersburg, Wheaton, Silver Spring, and Langley Park. Sam, 5 of those charged in this crime came to the United States under the Unaccompanied Minors Program. Are these the dreamers we want to let into our country?
No, I don't think so. However, my problem is that I don't know who sent them here. MS-13, as you know, is sending kids like this into the country to raise havoc because of all the business they're doing on drugs. Now, does that mean that we have a weak border, which I know you're going to bring up? No, it doesn't, but it certainly does say that we need to get a handle on this. But especially in Montgomery County, this MS-13 has been around going back to Executive Duncan. And during that period of time, people said, we'll put our head in the sand rather than deal with the problem.
we
now, how
didn't.
many years ago was that, Sylvia? I mean,
So 15,
Cynthia,
20?
we've
20
had,
years ago.
Sam, we've
This
had,
issue has
we've
been
had
here for
special
20
prosecutors
years.
running a gang task force in Montgomery County over the last 15 years. So don't tell me that.
And what happened?
That they put their head in the sand.
And what happened during that period of time, Casey?
More crime because of
No,
more individuals.
stuff actually went down through 2017, and then it came back and spiked up again because MS-13 started recruiting in the elementary
But see,
schools
this is an example
to get
of the
bring gang
sanctuary policy.
Pardon?
This is part of the county sanctuary policy. This is basically as a result of the county sanctuary policies that basically does catch and release, does not cooperate with the federal government, doesn't work with ICE, doesn't want to do 287G, and that is the reason MS-13 is running amok in Montgomery County.
And MS-13 was created in the United States, exported to El Salvador, and now has come back.
Out of California.
But the problem is we have unaccompanied minors that were allowed into the country and were
some
welcome
of-
into our community.
Yes, and some of these kids are vulnerable and are recruited by existing MS-13 members after they get here.
And
So
some of
we
the
have to
juniors-
address that issue. One of the complications, and I don't know how we figure it out, is the multi-jurisdictional problem. Because the ringleader of this recent incident lived in Maryland, but was the head of the gang in Fairfax County, and the murder was committed in Prince George's County.
And the body was dumped in Virginia.
And the body was dumped in Stafford County.
Evan, what can we do?
Well, back in 2014, it was Ike Leggett who was going around reassuring everyone that we wouldn't comply with ICE detainers. And I feel that sends a message to anyone, for whatever reason they may be coming across the border, that if you come to Montgomery County, you have a better chance of not being removed, you have a better chance of staying here. Don't play dumb and pretend that means all immigrants, but it does mean that whether you are a gang member trying to come here and find safe haven, or a gang member trying to come here and recruit other vulnerable people, this is a better place to come than many other jurisdictions around the country. So cracking down on that and complying with ICE detainers, working with the federal government to root out the gangs would be a good first step.
And there's many dreamers that come to Montgomery County, the state of Maryland, and the United States that actually live the dream. They go to school, do very,
And
very
These
well.
victims of the
MS-13
also.
individuals
Get
are not
scholarships.
typical dreamers.
Correct.
They are the
Small
exception.
percentage.
But typical
They are the
dreamers are also
exception.
the victims of the gangs. So
And that is
I would
correct.
like, I would
And
like
that is correct.
these immigrant teenagers to be safer. So we should comply with ICE and help root out the gangs with the federal government.
Well, we all want a safe environment for our families and for our businesses. And the three topics we talked about today all are disturbing, and we hope that we have good law enforcement going forward. When we come back from this short break, should Governor Hogan sign the increase in the minimum wage? And should the state take over the maintenance of the potholes on the BW Parkway? Stay tuned. Well, it's springtime, and you know what that means. It means potholes. And the pothole problem on the Baltimore-Washington Parkway has been so bad that Maryland Governor Larry Hogan has demanded that the U.S. Park Service give up its control of the roadway and turn it over to the state to administer. Cynthia, you haven't broken an axle yet, but is this a good idea?
This is an excellent idea. It's far overdue. The Park Service has had this stretch of road on their maintenance and repair and replacement list for 10 years, and it just gets worse and worse. Senator Chris Van Hollen's office has been inundated with complaints and calls. And the governor is right to push and push and push for this to happen. This is 18 miles of the worst road in Maryland, so it needs to happen.
Actually, I agree with you. I think it's a great idea. I use the BW Parkway when I go down to Goddard, and it's either a hit or miss. Sometimes you get in there and get in the back way of Goddard in 2 minutes. Sometimes it'll take 20 minutes. And I think
Well, the
I would
roadway
much rather
was
see
shut
federal
down.
money is going to maintain that road. And I don't like the idea of toll roads, one lane in each direction, should we take it over and privatize it. I just don't like that idea.
We're talking about that for BWI.
Yeah, they are.
Yes, they are.
Absolutely.
They are looking for some
But it's not a-
adding
They're
ways
talking
and
about
toll.
a toll road in each direction, widening
Right.
however
Is
you
that
can
such a
widen,
bad thing? I mean, I like the idea.
privatizing, which I know you're in favor of, Casey.
Why? I didn't say that.
I thought it was a
I used the whole
Republican.
thing
Did I say that?
Oh, I'm sorry.
I believe our gas tax dollars should maintain the road.
That's
that's
federal.
what
This is a federal road.
That's we pay
pay federal
state
taxes.
taxes too. Dwight,
Yeah.
we're going to change topics for a moment, and that deals with another issue in the Maryland House of General Assembly. They passed the $15 an hour minimum wage bill. What's Governor Hogan going to do? Is he going to vote it, veto it, or sign it?
I really hope he vetoes it, because $15 an hour minimum wage will bring one, as I've had this experience a couple times this past week going to lunch. There you have one wait staff taking over like 5-6 tables. You're in there for hours. You're not getting in and out. $15 minimum wage is going to basically cut down the staffs. There are going to be jobs going to be lost. People are going to be out of work. And what good does $15 minimum wage do if you're sitting home twiddling your thumbs because you don't have a job? Secondly, I think a lot of these jobs are entry-level jobs. These are not career paths. I think we keep things the way they are, because I'm sure a lot of the wait staffs, like especially Montgomery County, they make more money on tips than they do on salaries, and they have to pay.
Well, but it's not just the restaurant industry that's affected
Yeah, exactly.
by this. There are people in all kinds of technical jobs that are also making $15 an hour.
The governor's going to make a decision whether politically he should veto a veto-proof bill and cause, a couple weeks of press till his veto gets overridden and it becomes law.
Why are you so skeptical?
happen.
You're a skeptical man, aren't you?
I'm a cynic.
You are a cynic.
am.
Why don't you think that he believes in the betterment of all the employees and citizens?
I'm just being
of
very
Montgomery County?
pragmatic. Why waste
He's
time
running
doing
for
something
president,
that's not going to
Sam.
succeed?
Well, don't you think
It's
he's
not going to succeed.
Don't you think
It's
he's gonna-
veto-proof.
Well, then, so
That's
why
po-
would he?
This is
why
a
would he
political
veto it?
show. It's veto proof.
It's veto proof.
V-E-T-O.
It's veto proof. It will go into law. Employers will have till 2026 to reach the $15
Like, I don't
More
like
people out of
government mandates, and I don't like the minimum wage bill, because I think the marketplace does react to demand. And if you I know that in my own business, we hire people. We're paying a lot more than the minimum wage because we need skilled, competent people working for us. So I don't care whether he signs it or not. I hope it goes through.
Well, actually, we agree on this because I think that
you know
the
what?
$15 level is really.
You know, let's
entry
let's
level.
put this out on Twitter. Sam and Casey agree. First time in the millennium. Stay tuned for parting shots. And welcome back. Now with parting shots, Sam Statland.
Well, folks, my parting shot goes right back to Damascus High School. And I want to know why the principal of that school has not been, and the coaches actually, have not been just put asunder somehow by the school board and by our superintendent of schools. How can you possibly stick your head in the sand and not say something about such a serious issue that's probably going on elsewhere in the county? I think it's disgraceful that those two leaders don't pick up.
Thank you, Sam. Evan Young, your parting shot.
So there's really two groups of people that have had the most input on making 30-year-old Evan who I am. Of course, my family, my parents, my brother, but then also all of the football coaches I had throughout my life. I want to talk about one in particular, Fred Kim. He was the head coach at Seneca Valley for 15 years, including his first 3 years where he was my head coach. He was recently fired after his first losing season in the entire span. They went 2-8 while the school was being rebuilt. Little practice field, no home games, and a very decreased school population to pull players from. But the rich got richer a few days ago as defending state champ Quince Orchard High School hired Coach Kim as their new defensive coordinator. So you had to think they're already favorites to repeat next year. But now with a coaching staff even more stacked with former Seneca Valley players and coaches, you think they're going to be tough to beat. So good luck to Quince Orchard and CK, except for when they play Seneca.
Thank you, Evan. Dwight Patel, your parting shot.
My parting shot goes to one of the most effective government agencies, NASA. Goddard turned 60 this year. Bravo, NASA. You're the one glimmering hope in the federal government bureaucracy that actually does things right and works well and actually produces tangible results.
Thank you, Dwight. Cynthia Rubenstein, your parting shot. But first, happy birthday, Cynthia.
Thank you.
You won't tell us your age.
I will not.
And a gentleman shouldn't ask. Your parting shot.
And you are a gentleman, Casey. My parting shot is all about basketball, but not men's NCAA basketball. I am all about the women this weekend. And my significant other is an alum of Notre Dame. I am an alum of University of Iowa, and I would love to see a showdown between those two teams. So that is my pick for the NCAA women's tournament. Go Hawks.
Thank you, Cynthia. Now, it is the time for the Final Four, and I will say that my bracket has already been busted because my team, the Colgate Raiders, appeared today playing against Tennessee. Tennessee had been ranked number 1 in the country. Now, when you compare a school that has 3,800 students, 55% of whom are women, to the University of Tennessee, you would think that you're going to be outgunned. And we ended up being losing today. Today is Friday, quite significantly at the tail end of the game. But I'm very proud of the game they played, and I'm very proud of the fact that in our 200th year this is our anniversary year. In our 200th year, Colgate football teams and Colgate basketball teams did extraordinarily well, and we still have a team ready for the Frozen Four in hockey. So we have something to look forward to besides the fact that it's my 45th anniversary, my 45th reunion coming up. So very happy about Colgate athletics. I'm not wearing maroon today, but I'm happy nonetheless. I want to thank the panel for being here. I want to thank the guests for tuning in each and every week to Montgomery County's hardest hitting political talk show. For 21 this week, I'm Casey Aiken.